Hi, it's about 6:30 in the evening. Not a happy camper because I did about an hour and a half worth of video and I can't find it. So I'm starting it all over again because I owe you a video. And so we're going to go right into it without any further ado. And I'll probably move a little more quickly than I'd like to because this is the second time I'm doing it. So bear with me. Most of the material I have here will you will have in a module on a Word document that you can access, and most of the links there, and also within um, Canvas, you'll also have several modules. Actually, I don't remember how many, but there's several modules in addition to this one that hasn't come up yet, hasn't been posted yet because I already lost the one I just almost finished. Will also be a module as well for your edification. It's a pretty important set of video, I would think, for lots of reasons. And so here we go. And I'm going to talk quickly because my patience is not long right now. Okay, so you have this already, and you will have had this already. And you'll see that the goals for today were to do some quick housekeeping, to go back to the strategic plan again, and spend some more time coaching you through that, provide you with the rubrics that Yulia had asked for, coach you through two futures forecasting techniques, and to spend a very brief time on chapter 4 in full and again, presuming that you will have read it already. In terms of housekeeping, I just wanted to compliment you for how well you worked with me on the 10th. Things really went nicely, I thought, and I was I'm very much appreciative of, I got to stop the share to make sure I am recording because yes, I am. Uh, there was some complicated things going on there. That simulation part that you were in is asking a lot of you. Um, and remember, I said this is a simulation of a simulation. So it's a very abbreviated. The ordinary simulation that's from the book I've mentioned several times is anywhere from 6 hours to a couple of days long when you do it the proper way. And I'm doing it in bits and pieces. Of course, this past week and the coming week, I probably won't do it after the November meeting. Decision question, whether discussion questions are also coming, and I will catch up to grading them middle of this week. The strategic plan piece is what I wanted to talk about. Only one of you sent me an idea that person had about what they were considering for their strategic plan. I urge you all to do that. It's not a homework assignment. If you don't do it, that's up to you. But as I said a couple of times, somewhat arrogantly, I suppose, my experience is that if you wait too long, you've waited too long to get this done. And so you need to move on that. And so what I wanted to do today, as far as the strategic plan, is to walk you through the template again. I'm going to keep doing that until it becomes second nature to you. Uh, and again, reminded to send me your ideas, and we're going to translate to goals. Now, what I did was this template's a little different from the original one I had shown you, but essentially the same. It's a template. All you can do is fill in the boxes, so to speak, properly. Sometimes that throws people. And then the other part of it is you'll be doing a PowerPoint that will explain what the boxes are saying more clearly. So this is just a template just to walk you through. And what I've done is I've taken a goal. I've made this up. This is all Bernardo modeling here. And the goal I came up with was to eliminate achievement gaps among all student subsets to assure equity. Now, in the face of things, you'll think, well, okay, he wants to narrow or eliminate achievement gaps. Yeah, but really what I want is equity. That's my goal. So I could flip that around and say to assure equity by eliminating all achievement gaps. That's probably a better way to say it. There's my goal. Working across, you have the same premises we've spoken about several times already, with a couple of little variations, but essentially the same. And you'll see that there's a set of strategies here. The first thing everyone's going to do, the first strategy you're going to write up is your needs assessment. You're going to gather information. You cannot make a decision about something or decisions about something without getting all the information you have. That's when you get in trouble. And so you want to get a comprehensive set of data in all of its forms in order for you to make the right analyses of what may be the issue. So if the issue is to narrow assessment gaps, achievement gaps, then you're going to do a SWOT. I demonstrated a SWOT to you the other day. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. All right. You're going, there's a module for that. You're going to do a 5 why. That is to say, you're going to ask a why question 5 times to get to the root causes in order for you to identify what it is you're trying to do metacognitively. So what's going on? What are the root causes that you're trying to solve? You're not trying to solve the cough. You're trying, that's a symptom. You're trying to solve the reason why I'm coughing or reasons. So everyone's going to just write them into the box, SWOT and 5 whys. But I do want you to do it, but I don't want you to show it. Trusting you on that. All right. And then there are several different strategies you should use. You should pick 2 of the remaining strategies. And here they are. A survey. Surveys are dangerous, as I told you 100 times. A bad survey gives you bad information. Isn't to say you should not use a survey, but be careful about what it is you're surveying for. You could do focus groups. Focus group is a set of people, a cross sample of the community who could contribute to the conversation, who think they may know some reasons why the root cause may be at stake, why there's a gap in achievement among the various subsets of our students, our special ed students, our ENL students, our gen ed students, our gifted students, and those kinds of things. So a survey has value, but a focus group has more value if you ask the right kinds of questions. You may need to do more than one focus group. You may need to do multiple times of focus groups, but it's got a great amount of power to tell you what you're looking for, trying to find out. You could do a panel discussion, a little bit different than a focus group, but essentially the same premise where you're going to have people, experts. You're going to have, I'll leave experts separately. You're going to have different segments of people sitting with each other so they can hear each other out about what they think their perspective is on the issue you're trying to get at, and then try to figure out a way to see what consensus you can generate about what the root causes may be that are at play. Field trips sound silly, but it's a good one. Field trips nowadays can be virtual. Field trips can also take the form of zooming in with folks as such, which I guess is virtual, come to think of it. Or you might go to a school district that's been successful in what you're trying to get done, and talk to them so they can give you some insight about what they tried to solve and how they went about trying to make it happen. That's very valuable. You may want to bring in experts. You may need to bring a demographer in to show what the population trends may be. Or you may want to bring an economist in to show what the economy may look like nationally, locally, and how that may affect the school district, in order to make decisions like that. Debates is a little bit more formal and a little bit sometimes a little adversarial, but you could have a group that might say, yeah, we are in favor of promoting equity through eliminating lost my train of thought, eliminating achievement gaps. And you may have another group who says, yeah, that we really don't think we need to do this, and let them hack it out, see where they can find things they may agree about. And of course, you need to do data analyses, and that's why I highlighted that one. I'm not going to require it, but I expect that you're going to put that down. And by data, we don't always necessarily mean state exams or national exams. That can't hurt to use, but there's also other data that you may want to use, quantitative data like achievement, the subset of achievement rates, like attendance rates among those subsets, like disciplinary referrals. There's lots of like whatever the economic conditions are that may affect certain groups. And so data analysis can offer you a lot of rich uh, direction if you use it properly. Again, you're going to come up with four strategies. Required two of you. You're going to say, I'm doing a SWOT, Dr. B, and I'm doing 5 ways to get to the root causes. I'm also expecting that you will do the 5 ways for yourself, so so you're sure you know what root causes you are looking at. And again, you can send these to me for my feedback in case you don't feel comfortable with that. Then you're going to pick among these other ideas, two of them, and really just one in certain senses, because you got to do data analysis. So among the rest of them, pick one. Okay. Now see how this is set up as you walk across the columns here. What I did was I put in a fake strategy. This strategy is meant to alleviate the achievement gaps. It's not the only strategy, it's one strategy. I expect you to come up with about 5 strategies. Even that is not enough. But it'll give you a chance to work your muscles on this a little bit. And I gave one. It's not, I think, personally, the first strategy to write down after you do a needs assessment. That's the first thing that you do. But you may decide that the staff needs to be trained to help the ENL children become integrated into the instructional plan. Certainly, that's got valid strategy, but I wouldn't say it's the first. Might be that you need to take the temperature of your staff to see whether they share the same vision as a strategy that might go before that. But to use this strategy as a model, you can see how it works across. Now, we said it's very important to have both formative and summative assessment strategies. When we shoot a missile to the moon, to land on the moon, we don't aim at the moon up in the sky as we speak tonight. We know the moon's going to move X amount of thousands of miles across the 3 or 4 days it will take for the rocket to reach the moon. And so we aim out to intercept the moon as it moves across. As the rocket's moving forward, if for some reason the rocket goes off course somehow, we press some buttons on the computer and we adjust. We recognize it's going to miss the moon. We change the trajectory of the moon. Oh, sorry, of the missile. That's a formative assessment. Uh, when students are on computer terminals doing mastery learning approaches, which I don't have a lot of faith in, but do have low level effectiveness. The computer may take the data for the responses of the students and decide that student ABC has difficulties with initial consonant B. I'm making that up. And so what it will do is it will adjust its directions to provide more practice fit to that student to master it before they go forward. That's called formative assessment. Summative assessment is pretty easy. You hit the moon. You land on the moon. You got there. Summative assessment is pretty easy. The achievement gap is eliminated. Then you know you've met it. Now, bear in mind, I'm going to say this in a second, that a strategic plan is 3 years to 10. I want you to do a 3-year plan. So 3 years from now, you're saying we're going to eliminate the gap. Now, maybe you can't do that in 3 years. If you think that's the case, you can extend your plan, or you can say we intend to be here in 3 years. And then we'll worry about the next 7 years in another plan because you may have to adjust for that. Again, as for who's responsible, you don't need to put names. You do need to put titles. And having been an assistant superintendent for instruction, highlight of my professional K-12 career, I would have to tell you, but it was more fun to be a principal. The assistant superintendent for instruction is responsible for almost all of these things. But assuming that the district is moderately sized, we'll have people who work for her or him to take care of some of the aspects of this, like data analysis, like running the focus groups. So that's one person has, you put those titles down, just don't put down any names. Now, go to the next column. I already talked about this. And this should be put should be cut. I'm going to put this here instead. And say the timetable, remember I said a 3-year timetable minimum. So in a 3-year timetable, you're going to say, all right, well, in the first year, all we're going to do is do a needs assessment. We're not doing anything else. We're just getting all the information so we can crunch it down and see what's at the bottom of the test tube before and what the root causes are before we move forward on strategies to alleviate those root causes. The second year might be a pilot approach. Pilots have a lot of value. Peter Senge speaks about this a lot by saying, basically, you can't do a wholesale blunderbuss approach to change. You have to move slowly and deliberately, especially in the beginning, but boldly to move forward. And the best thing to do is when you finally figure out strategies, plural, to alleviate the issue or solve the issue, implement a small program, a pilot program, rather than to try to shoot the whole shotgun at everybody all at once. You will miss people that way. When someone remodels a car, when the automobile industry remodels a car, it takes years before it gets to the showroom because what they will have done is designed this car and redesigned it, finally taken out working models, prototypes out on the road for 100,000 miles to see if the wheels will fall off, or the steering wheel is proper, or the paint's going to peel before they think that the car is ready for sale to the public. That's a pilot. They're piloting a premises before they go forward. And that's something to consider as you put the plan together. And then you move off course to the resources, what you need to have this done. And we're being vague because you're not in a position to make these decisions with what you know about district level management now. So what you're going to say is, well, here are the things that we need. We need a data service capacity. We need computers, technology, programs to look at. We might need substitute time when we start doing training of people. So I'm taking teachers out of the classroom to train them during their classroom time, which is what you should do rather than after or before school. Then we need to pay for substitutes, and that's going to cost a chunk of change. And we may need to bring experts in. And we may need flat out just time. That's a resource. And then we get to this last column, which I'm saving, which I'm coming to right now. I'm going to give you 2 techniques to begin to think about what the probable futures are. Remember I said that stop the share for a minute. Remember I said that I forgot what I said. Remember that I said that there are 3 P's when it comes to the future: possible, probable, preferable. Your preferable future, you've stated, eliminate the gaps, assure equity. That's your preferable future. However, there are probable futures in between possible and preferable that you need to identify to either rework, transform, eliminate, or hurdle over in order to get to the preferable future. And so you need to spend a lot of time in the middle P, in the middle probable. Here are 2 strategies I'm going to teach you. I'm not going to give a homework assignment on them. I'd like to, but I'm not. That you can practice on your own. And I promise you, money back, tuition-free guarantee that if you would use these strategies, you can use this for most anything, not just your school planning or your leadership approaches. You can use it for whether you're going to build a deck in the backyard as such. It's the same kinds of approaches that project managers may use. And so now it brings me over to, let's see where I got mixed up before when I lost everybody. We're going to bring you over to Canvas. And I'm going to bring you over to strategic planning. That's the name of this course, as you know better than I. going to bring you over to the modules. Why can't I bring you to the modules? Oh, it's coming now. Here we go. Toward the bottom of this big long list of modules I have, you're going to see something called Futures Wheel Template. And as it's loading up, I'll give you a quick philosophy about this. There are two kinds of dimensions, at least two, according to futures forecasting, two-dimensional and three. I'm not going to show you the three-dimensional for a couple of weeks. I'm going to show you two-dimensional forecasting tools. I can show you a million, but I'm showing you two that you by nature will understand very quickly, but have never used, I don't think, in the way I'm about to show this to you. The first one is called a futures wheel. Now, it's basically an if-then. If someone punches me in my nose bleeds. If then my nose bleeds, then I might punch back or defend myself. Then there might be a fight. Then someone might get involved and try to break up the fight. Or I might cry, which I probably would do. And we see how the if-thens accumulate. It's a chain reaction approach. If I toss a pebble into the middle of a puddle, if I throw something in the middle of the pond, then there are ripples. And the ripples reach out all the way to the along the surface, maybe to the bottom too, along the surface of the pond to all the edges of the pond as well. What a futures wheel does is enable you to identify the ripples more concretely. And so what I'm going to do is model this very quickly. And there it is. And you're going to see our futures wheel. Just a graphic. It's not a brainstorm, he shouted. It's not a brainstorm. A brainstorm is any old idea. We're talking about ideas that you have amassed during your fact-finding stages, during your information gathering stages. And what you do is you put a future in the center. Good, bad, or indifferent. In this case, we're going to say an effort emerges to eliminate the achievement gaps. That's your future. It could be anything, but we're just putting that in there for argument's sake. Now you're going to see circles that emanate from that center puddle, center rock. The rock is in the middle of the puddle. That's where the rock went. And here are the ripples. And we're going to see that these are what we call primary events. So four things come to mind very quickly. One would be everybody loves the idea and wants to go forward with it. Another idea is everybody hates the idea and doesn't want to go forward with it. These are probable futures. A third possibility may be that these people just don't care. There's apathy about it. And a fourth group of people may say, well, we're interested, but maybe we need to understand this better, especially the money part. Now, follow my little arrow here. You can see that. Let's take the negative here for a moment and say, all right, well, this is a group of people who, by the way, you would write this into the circle. I'm just saving the circle for yourself, for you. I would advise you to print this out, to play with it. You might say, all right, well, this is a probable future that everybody hates it. Now, what are the thens out of everybody hates it? Well, then they don't do it. Another probable future may be that If they don't do it, then the students suffer. All right. And then what's the probability of that? If nobody does it, then what's the probability of that? And what's the probability of that? You could take this out a million miles if you wanted to, but to keep it simple, we have a future, we have a primary set of sources, and then what we call tertiary outcomes here. Probable outcomes. All of them are possible. Some of them are more probable than another. I'll say that again. Some of them are more probable than another. And that brings us back to stopping the share and brings me back to this is where I lost everybody before. The template I had, the agenda I had originally shown you today. But here it is. And you can see what I've done here now. I've shown you again, repeat, and then we're talking more nearly about probable futures as you try to pull that together. And so what you're doing now is I'm showing you two forecasting strategies, which can be very complex if you do them, with a group, but we're trying to keep this as simple as we can because this is an individual assignment. And so one forecasting technique is two-dimensional futuring. You have that in a module. You don't have this in a model. It's here on the agenda page, and that's called a cross-impact matrix, which is a fancy word for a chart. This sounds more cute when you say cross-impact matrix, cross-impact chart. So when we think about the probable futures and how they impact or are impacted by other factors, other variables, then we can see how the if-thens become more complex. Not three-dimensional, really, yet, but certainly moving in that direction of three-dimension rather than two. And so what you do here, I only did this for argument's sake. This chart could be a lot longer if you wanted to, and a lot wider if you wanted to make it that. But for the sake of simplicity, here it comes. I put down two probable futures about when we consider the possibility of seeking to eliminate all achievement gaps. One probable future will be that it will probably be costly. Another probable future is that maybe the vision isn't shared by everybody. Either of those are fairly uh, logical as such. Now, what you do across this top here is you put people, places, things, ideas, groups who may be affected by these probable futures. I've picked the easy ones here, and that would be teachers, the leadership, the Board of Education, the community, and students. That could go into a lot. You can take that into a lot of other places, but for simplicity's sake, I think this is more than adequate. And then you go back here and you look at if a probable future is that it will be costly, maybe teachers will think the union may say they don't want to do this because the money will then go to the kids and not to them. It's not a pretty future, but it's a probable future. By the way, you can put more than one idea in the box. Just click on it and put some new ideas besides that. Every one of these should have more than one outcome. What will the leadership think? Well, they may think they're being challenged by their authority, and they may see a need to sell this better, or they may see a need to clamp down on a teachers union if they're going out of bounds, so to speak. The Board of Education may also have doubts about this. They may require more explanation. Knowing most boards of education, they will want more explanation more often than not, and that's fine. You give it to them. The community may be apathetic about it. Or the community may say, yeah, we see this as an issue. We see a lot of jobless people here who aren't able to take what few jobs are left in the community because they're not trained properly or they're not understanding English well enough yet. Or or the skill sets are lacking to perform some of the manufacturing jobs we have, they may say, we need to do something about this. Now, that's community, all right? And then we go over to students, and the students certainly will suffer because of this attitude about not wanting to spend money. And therefore, you can see more ideas emerging. And the same thing with vision not shared. If the people don't all see the reason for a vision, and I have to say, I've made that mistake maybe a million times, thinking that everybody has drunk the Kool-Aid, and they have not. And I sometimes have to back up and rewind the tape to make sure I can get that done properly when I'm running it with a district. Uh, so in this case, the teachers may not have that vision as well. And the leadership may say, well, we need to maybe redo this. Maybe we haven't communicated this properly. Probably true. The board may need more information. And the community, then again, may say, well, in this case, may say, well, yeah, we want to get heavily involved in promoting this. And again, students are going to suffer until this gets solved. Now, you could put 4 or 5 probable futures down. I only gave 2 just to wet your whistle. And you can see how I've given you 2 futures forecasting strategies. I am not requiring these as homework. You're never going to show these to me unless you want to. So only feel free to send them to me. But I do expect you to try to do these because that's going to enable you to do 2 things. Fill in this probable future column. It's also going to help you reshape your strategies. That's what's going to happen, I promise you. Maybe I need to change this strategy a little bit because I see this as a real issue we have to be aware that's coming down the line with our new future that we're trying our preferred future we're trying to bring about. All right, now I'm moving quickly here, but you can watch this video more than once. It won't kill you, I promise you. But what I've done is I've modeled 2 strategies. There's a third strategy coming, but I'm not going to do that till probably when I meet with you in November. I don't remember the date. I think it's the 10th or the 17th. I forget. So I'll model. We'll do that together as a class. And your hair will hurt, but you'll also enjoy it. It'll really help you pull your whole plan together. Okay, now Julia asked for rubrics, and rubrics she has had. And these are the rubrics I've shaped out. I thought I had done this, but I had not. So I had to go back and look for it, and then I redid them a bit. And so, I may reserve the right to change them a little bit, Julia. But for now, these are the rubrics we're working with. 1 meaning not so good, 5 meaning it's perfect, and 2 and 4 are implied between the numbers. And the last piece here is, and I'll probably be going back to chapter 4 and full in more than once. If you haven't read 4, or if you haven't read 4 lately, go back and skim 4. That's probably the best chapter in the whole book. I think maybe the last chapter is pretty good too, but this chapter I think has much value in the concrete expectations and events that you're going to encounter when you try to create change. And the more nearly you know what these things are going to be about, and keep them in the back of your leadership mind, the more nearly you'll be successful. Which brings us to Cuban and Elmore. Larry Cuban is one of my idols. He's probably after Shine Shine and Sharma and Senge. Those are probably 3 of my Crimmins is another one I haven't even spoken about. Elmore is also pretty good, and Fullen too, for that matter. And Fullen, I would say, is the present day guru of change, although that changes with the wind to some extent. And in that chapter, I took one of his quotes, but I capitalized some of the terms that go with it to really pound home. You've all been victims of, pardon my French, crappy change efforts. Changes that sounded really good and cute, and the flavor du jour. And then a year later fell flat on their face because they weren't sustained properly, because the structures weren't there to support it. And the vision wasn't there to make it all happen. The combination of dispositions and skill sets, the futuring skill sets especially, just weren't there. And so this quote from Fullin, I think, is very good. Districts and schools are more likely to adopt and then implement superficial changes in content, objective standards, and structures than changes in culture, he shouted, role behavior, and conceptions of teaching and learning. And our last premise, conceptions of teaching and learning, is spoken to very nicely in the PELP model. I'm going to do more with the PELP model in the next broadcast, so to speak. But you have the module. I think it's 12 pages there as well as a diagram. I would expect that you're going to read that, not for this week, but for the following, so that you can really get a handle on a model that shows, this is right out of Harvard, that shows how all the pieces have to be in place in order to be assured that you're going to be effectively have the effective capacity to be um, able to sustain a change, a futures-based change. Uh, because change is technically simple, but it's actually very complex. Those moving parts we talk about, those probable futures. Sometimes a probable future emerges that you weren't probably ready for. Yeah, witness COVID. Shouldn't have been a problem. Shouldn't have been overlooked, but was by everyone, governments and school systems, without any doubt. Fulham points out the issue of balancing factors. Yes, you have to be simple, but it's a complex premise, as I said a minute ago. You have to be kind of loose to make this thing organically evolve. And I'll use that term better next week. But it's got to be coherent. It's got to be connected. It's got to be tight enough for that. And to some extent, you need some strong leadership to pave the way. But more importantly, you need distributed leadership for everyone to carry their load, as well as working I believe, from the bottom up rather than from the top down. Although that's a generalization. Sometimes it has to come from the top down. Figure 4.3, I think, captures the outside, that world out there premise I left with you last week and a couple of weeks before that. They have a role in that, ROLE, role in this that needs to be accommodated, okay, as well as all the other units that all contribute to this as such. And I've already spoken about the Senge saying, pilot where possible as you formulate your plan. This one, I hope, doesn't get blown up by Mr. and Mrs. Zoom, and hopefully I can get this in Canvas before the Yankee game gets on. So with that, I wish you well and enjoy.